Okay, we're about to go live. Everyone mute their mics. So you're going to see it live on the top of the screen in a moment. Sorry, I've just lost my... Sorry, everybody. All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Lorraine Cunningham, and I'd like to welcome you to the TransLink September 2024 Open Board Meeting. Thank you all for joining us virtually today. At this time, I'd like to call our meeting to order. And I'd like to start by saying that we respect the First Nations within Metro Vancouver for their stewardship of the land from time immemorial and acknowledge all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people for their continued resilience and as active members of the community for generations to come. We recognize that in planning and managing the region's transportation system, that we have a very important role to play in supporting reconciliation. September 30th is National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, and also known as the Orange Shirt Day. On this day, we acknowledge the hard truths of the residential school system and remember the Indigenous children who did not return to their families, the survivors that suffered immense trauma, their families, and the Indigenous communities forever changed. It is an opportunity for us to deepen our understanding of the intergenerational trauma that the residential school system has inflicted upon Indigenous peoples. As we approach this day, I hope that we'll all make space for reflection and education. Reconciliation is everybody's responsibility. It's a collective effort that we must all actively participate in. I encourage you all to join me in this important journey. So before we begin our meeting, I'd like to formally welcome Stephen Howard, who joined the TransLink board on August 23rd of 2024. Stephen is an award-winning communicator and strategist, over 35 years of experience shaping public policy in British Columbia. Over his long career, Stephen has worked for several unions in senior positions, including the BC Federation of Labour, the Hospital Employees Union, the BC General Employees Union, and in Ottawa for the Canada Union of Public Employees. Now retired, Stephen is on the Langara College Board, where he serves as the Vice Chair and Chair of Governance and Nominating. He has also served on the Board of the Governors at UBC. Welcome, Stephen, and we look forward to your ideas and contribution.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate your introduction and looking forward to my first meeting as the TransLink Director.
That's great. Thank you. So before we proceed, are there any items on the consent agenda that a director would like to remove from consent for discussion later today? If not, I would ask that I'm going to pass the floor over now to Alan Seckel, who's going to present today's safety moment.
Thanks, Lorraine. There's a school near my home where late in the last school year, a child was struck by a car as she attempted to cross the street and suffered life-altering injuries. Since that time, the city has reduced the speed limit in front of the school from 50 to 40. Personally, I think the speed limit should be reduced to 30, and I'll tell you why. Because after 30K, the chances of a catastrophic injury to a pedestrian increase exponentially. Below 30K, the survival rate and the injury rate is quite a bit lower. So 30K is an important school zone and park zone requirement, and is what exists in most places adjacent to schools and parks. So my safety advice today is that when we're going through those zones, that we adhere to the speed limit. The speed limits are there for a reason, and they are important given the catastrophic nature of injuries after 30 kilometers per hour. So let's all slow down, respect the school zones, and keep our kids and teens safe. Thanks, Lorraine.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you very much. So we're going to move on to our agenda, and the first order of business is we have two public delegates that would like to speak to the board this morning. And the first one is Nathan Davadovich. So Nathan, can we ask you to join us? Thank you very much. So we're going to move on to our agenda. The first order of business is we have two public delegates. Nathan, are you there? Nathan, can we ask you? Nathan,
Hello?
can I ask you to turn down the volume of your speaker in the background? And then you can,
Oh, yeah.
you have 5 minutes, Nathan, to make your
you hear
presentation
me,
to the board.
yeah, okay. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you.
I'm talking today about the accessibility failures at the Oak Ridge 41st Avenue station on the Canada line. When the SkyTrain system was opened in 1986, there were elevators at all the stations. The construction cost back then was $6 million. However, the Granville station did not have an elevator. And BC Transit provided a free shuttle service from Granville Station to Burrard Station. I assume that the current TransLink staff are not even aware what BC Transit did back then. I'm asking that this be done at the Oak Ridge 41st Avenue station over the next year until construction is completed and the elevator can be used again. This massive construction is mostly the fault of the city of Vancouver, but TransLink and its different operating companies could have mitigated many side effects of this construction. And I send you the article from today's City Hall Watch that described the problems in lots of details, over 9 pages. The first item is providing an alternative elevator or a staircase elevator, as well as having a handy-dart vehicle operate as a shuttle to complement the number 15 bus operating to and from Langara 49th station that has an operating elevator most of the time. We cannot delay the number 15 bus where about half the present trips are already late. A shuttle can fix that very easily because it's not running on a time schedule. It's just shuttling back and forth between Oak Ridge and Langara. Converting the emergency exit on the east side of Cambie Street to an additional entrance was asked many times, and the city did not approve of that for some reason. Proper signage and detailed wayfinding at all bus stop locations and at the station itself. Make sure that the temporary bus shelters and benches are placed at the temporary bus stops. Have permanent attendance at Oak Ridge 41st Station at all hours to help our vulnerable transit riders. Have proper procedures to deal with unexpected events like the 1-month closure of 41st Avenue that happened last month due to the crane collapsing. 39th Avenue could have been used instead of the faraway 49th Avenue that Coast Mountain Bus Company used. Challenging municipalities to prioritize our buses on many corridors and send your staff to make presentation to open city council meetings instead of just holding private meeting with staff to staff. Do you know that we only have 10 transit priority traffic signals in Metro Vancouver, while the city of Toronto has 400? So thank you very much for your listening to me, and hopefully you can act on some of my suggestions. Thank you.
Nathan, thank you very much. And thank you for being so respectful of your 5 minutes. And we really appreciate you coming to each of our meetings and providing us with such good feedback. So appreciate it. Okay, our second delegate is Martin Wolowinski. Martin, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Let me just mute the meeting here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so 5 minutes, please, Martin, and I appreciate hearing what you have to say.
Okay. Thank you very much. Just for full disclosure, I'll open by saying that I'm an employee of HandyDart. I work as a driver, and I've never addressed any board of any corporation ever before. So I apologize if I cross any decorum or any rules here. I just wanted to, first of all, express my gratitude for allowing me to speak, and I would like to apologize for any hardship or discomfort we caused anyone who happened to be in a TransLink building last Wednesday. I hope you understand that our employees going into and occupying the lobby was a move of sheer desperation, not any kind of arrogance. I'm calling to ask the board to reconsider bringing HandyDart in-house. We've been dealing with private companies for ever since I've been working for HandyDart, which is 12 years, and it's been going on longer than that. It's not a good system. It doesn't work for the passengers. It doesn't work for us. You know, you have a great resource in HandyDart employees. All of us are deeply passionate and committed to this job. And farming out the service to a private corporation, for-profit corporation, is allowing a fox into a hen house, a fox which feeds off of the most vulnerable members of our society, and we need to take better care of them. You know, the morale at my work is at all-time low. We are not a very militant union. We don't strike easily. And striking was it was the last resort. You know, we had no other option but to strike. Even before the strike started, I have to say, I don't know if anybody is aware of this. Our negotiators contacted the company as soon as the strike notice was issued, and implored the company to meet with us and hammer out a deal before the strike starts. The company wouldn't even consider meeting with us until the 12th of September, which was 2 weeks later. The mediator managed to move that up to the 8th of September, but the company which operates HandyDart right now, they're not interested in making the service better or fixing anything. Their main interest is to suck out as many resources as they can before they get replaced by somebody else. I mean, at least that's what we feel. So I'm hoping that now I know that the contract with TransDev is coming up to renewal, and I'm hoping that the board of TransLink will consider bringing us in-house and operating us in the same manner as Coast Mountain and West Coast Express and SkyTrain and, you know, Seabus. We're the only part of TransLink which is farmed out to a private corporation, and it doesn't have to be that way. We can make the service better. We can set it up for better accountability. We don't need this French corporation in between TransLink and us. We can cooperate. We can, you know, like I said, we can be great partners. We as employees, as a union, we can be great partners to TransLink if you guys bring us in-house. I'm hoping that you consider it. The number one complaint we have from our passengers is the taxi use, which has ballooned from under 10% 2 years ago to somewhere in the neighborhood of 25, 26%. So a quarter of all HandyDart trips are completed by taxis now, and our passengers are suffering for it. A lot of them are very vulnerable people who need extra attention and extra care, and taxi service is not the right mode of transportation for them. So I'm very proud to be a HandyDart employee. I love what I do. Many of our drivers as well as the office staff have members of family with disabilities. So, we know what it's like for them firsthand. And, with all my heart, I hope that TransLink will finally do the right thing. And for the sake of our most vulnerable passengers, bring us in-house, improve the service, and we can work together for a brighter future. That's all I have to say. And please, it takes a lot of energy to call and speak with you guys. I'm not speaking in any kind of official capacity. I'm not a member of the executive in my union. I'm just a driver who's frustrated, and I want to see this service, this wonderful service, which could be world star of public transit. I want it to flourish, and it's been deteriorating for years now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Martin. And our CEO, Kevin Quinn, is going to address some of the comments that you made during his report, which follows right now. So thank you very much for coming and joining us. And we appreciate your comments. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Martin. All right. So let's move on now to item number 3 in our agenda, which is our CEO report. And Kevin?
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. Before starting my report this morning, I do also want to extend a warm welcome to our new board member, Stephen Howard. Stephen, really looking forward to working with you. Today, I'll be providing information on TransLink's Independent Efficiency Review and Management Action Plan, our Fare Enforcement Program, and the Potential Transit Impacts Report. I'll also be sharing some information on our real estate development program, also converting the West Coast Express fleet to renewable diesel, and our community outreach activities this summer. Next slide, please. As Chair Cunningham noted, Monday, September 30th is National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, and learning about and acknowledging the painful truths of residential schools is an important aspect of reconciliation with Indigenous peoples and future generations. And I'd like to honor Indigenous peoples and communities impacted by the residential school system, including survivors, for being brave enough to share their stories, those who never returned home and couldn't tell theirs, and their families and communities who live with the immense pain and trauma of these truths. And to move reconciliation forward meaningfully, TransLink is committed to continually building an inclusive and equitable transportation system that supports Indigenous peoples, Indigenous cultures, and perspectives. And as part of this commitment, we feature Indigenous artistry on the transit network to really celebrate Indigenous cultures and histories and remind us of the important work we must do to support reconciliation. And I'm pleased to share that we've collaborated with local Indigenous artist Shante Campbell-Kashikweb, who has designed 2 new SkyTrain car wraps featuring artwork that honors the rich culture and history of Indigenous peoples, while encouraging SkyTrain customers to reflect on the stewards of the land we travel on today since time immemorial. The artwork was officially unveiled on 2 SkyTrain cars on Monday, and they will remain in service for a year. We recognize that TransLink needs to continue playing an active role in the pursuit of thriving and sustainable Indigenous communities. We're committed to seeing these promises through. Next slide, please. In the past month, we've seen labor action affecting customers who rely on West Coast Express and HandyDART services. In late August, Canada Pacific Kansas City, who owns the tracks on which West Coast Express operates, and their employee union, Teamsters Rail Conference Canada, experienced a labor dispute. And this led to a 2-day shutdown of CN rails, which meant the West Coast Express could not operate. And during the shutdown, we provided extra bus service to connect the 3,000 customers who rely on West Coast Express daily. Additionally, as of September 3rd, most HandyDART trips were canceled due to job action between TransDev and their employee union, ATU Local 1724. On Friday, September 20th, we were informed that the 2 parties reached a tentative agreement, and with the ratification process now complete, HandyDART service will be fully restored in the coming days. We know HandyDART services are vitally important to many community members who rely on it to get around the region. And I want to note that there are always opportunities to improve how we deliver our services, which is why a review has been underway for some time to examine how to better deliver service for HandyDART customers. And as outlined in our March update, we decided the beginning of this year was the right time to take a constructive look at the Handy Dart delivery model, given trends in the custom transit industry and our contract with Transdev coming to an end in 2026. So I really appreciate the delegate that we had speak today. And as we move forward, we're going to continue to consider feedback from stakeholders as an important part of the review process. And I look forward to sharing additional updates with the board in the coming months. Next slide, please. For some time now, we've been calling for a new long-term sustainable way to fund transit in Metro Vancouver. And without a new funding model, we are facing an annual revenue shortfall of around $600 million starting at the end of 2025 due to declining gas tax revenues, fare increases being held lower than inflation, and new transit projects and services requiring significant new resources to operate once complete. And as our population grows at unprecedented rates, the demand for transit is rising, but our current funding model limits our ability to expand services to meet our region's needs. Sustainable funding is essential to maintain the quality of service our customers rely on and expect, while also enhancing and expanding the network to align with our region's rapid growth. While we work with all levels of government to secure a new funding model and expand service as soon as possible, we're doing everything we can to operate efficiently and continue to deliver the best possible service for our customers. Next slide, please. And so that's why in June, we released the results from an independent efficiency review undertaken by Ernst & Young. The review was thorough, and it was an important step in finding every opportunity for cost savings and efficiencies within the enterprise. And this review validated our commitment to taxpayers and our culture of fiscal responsibility. It also really underscored that, quite frankly, there are limited opportunities to cut costs without reducing transit service, given that 85% of our costs are directly tied to frontline service. Alongside the report, we shared our management action plan outlining $90 million in corporate cost cutting and revenue generating initiatives to safeguard transit services for as long as possible. And specific initiatives include eliminating unfilled corporate roles, reducing IT-related expenses, optimizing our debt management strategy, and increasing fare evasion enforcement on the transit system. Next slide, please. Some of these cost efficiency initiatives are already underway. We recently launched a fare enforcement and education program to reduce fare evasion, educate riders about fare payments, and improve safety across the transit system. These cost recovery efforts aim to reduce fare evasion by $5 million each year by deterring people from using the transit system without paying or without paying the appropriate fare. Transit fares are an integral part of how we pay for transit services in Metro Vancouver, but fare evasion by some customers undermines our ability to finance and operate the transit system. So customers can expect more high visibility fare enforcement patrols at transit hubs and onboard vehicles, including officers asking for and scanning proof of payment verification. And these patrols will continue to ramp up in the coming months and will spread across the region with enforcement locations changing regularly. And officers can use their discretion based on the circumstances to issue tickets or provide educational resources. Paying fares is part of using transit, but we are aware that for some customers, this is not financially feasible. And we're committed to educating riders on how to pay, which fare products to use, and what resources are available to people who are unable to pay. In June, we provided the Mayor's Council a report to propose government-funded transit discounts based on people's ability to pay rather than by age. Free or subsidized passes are also already available through the BC Bus Pass program, as well as through other charitable organizations that we donate free passes to, such as the Homeless Services Association of BC. Additionally, we'll be soon launching a highly visible education campaign focused on fare payment. While the efficiencies from our management action plan and initiatives like this one are significant, it's important to note that they alone will not solve our funding challenges. Next slide, please. At the end of July, we released the Potential Transit Impacts Report, which explored what service cuts may be required if adequate funding is not secured by the end of the year. And this report illustrates that our funding gap could result in significant cuts to transit service, with the possibility to affect 675,000 people's access to transit, impacting connections to healthcare, school, jobs, and recreational activities. And while these are difficult scenarios to consider, it's our responsibility to be transparent with the public about what the future could look like without adequate funding. Tomorrow, at the request of the Mayor's Council, we'll release a report that outlines how these potential service cuts could impact our economy. Again, these reports are not to cause alarm, but to provide a clear picture of the challenges we're grappling with. In addition to working with the board, the mayor's council, and all levels of government to secure a new sustainable funding model, we continue to find ways to bring in new revenues to protect the quality of transit services. Next slide, please. And so this summer, we took an important step towards building a new mixed-use development near the future Arbutus SkyTrain station in partnership with PCI Developments. Vancouver City Council's recent approval of the project's rezoning application is a key milestone in advancing our real estate development program. And once complete, revenues from this development will be reinvested into the transit system, supporting future expansion to meet the needs of our growing region. Situated near the future terminus of the Broadway subway, an incoming bus loop, and the Arbutus Greenway, this development will enhance sustainable transportation options and provide much-needed housing. The next steps include securing development and building permits, with construction anticipated to begin in late 2025. And we're targeting 2029 for the project's completion. Next slide, please. Last week, we were so happy to announce the transition of the West Coast Express fleet to renewable diesel, a significant milestone on our path to net zero emissions. And this shift will cut greenhouse gas emissions by 97% across the fuel life cycle compared to fossil fuel diesel, resulting in a 3,200 ton annual GHG reduction. That's the equivalent of taking 940 cars off the road each year. Over the past year, we've expanded our use of renewable diesel by converting the Surrey, Port Coquitlam, and Vancouver transit centers. And this is part of our broader efforts to advance the climate action strategy and achieve a 45% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. We remain committed to transitioning to a zero-emission bus fleet by 2040, and shifting to renewable diesel is an important step in that journey. Next slide, please. This summer, as part of our Take Transit campaign, we were so proud to present 8 car-free day festivals in Surrey, New Westminster, Vancouver, Port Moody, Port Coquitlam, Maple Ridge, and North Vancouver, attracting an estimated 650,000 people. I had the opportunity to attend a number of these events, which serve as a great opportunity for us to celebrate our communities while encouraging people to experience everything our region has to offer by walking, cycling, and taking transit. I also had the pleasure of attending the 46th annual Vancouver Pride Parade, where I walked alongside more than 20 TransLink employees, and I would like to thank Directors Chan and Reimer for joining us at that parade. In August, we were once again proud to partner with the PNE Fair to offer discounted admissions on Fridays, allowing customers to check out the 2 TransLink exhibits and enjoy all the PNE has to offer. We also made it easier for customers to take transit to and from the PNE by adding an express bus, in addition to regular bus service. It was great to see so many people from across the region who joined us this summer to really celebrate community and sustainable transportation across all of these events. Next slide, please. That concludes my CEO update. Thank you, as always, for your time today, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Kevin, thank you very much for that report. It was rather fulsome, covered a lot of area and a lot of material, but so many exciting things going on and some challenges ahead of us. So, any questions for Kevin before we move on? All right, seeing none, then I'm going to move the on to agenda item number 4, which is the report from the BC Rapid Transit Company, and this is for Sani. So Sani, welcome.
Thank you, Chair, and happy to provide an update to the board on goings-on at BCRTC. I would like to start by saying, as the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation approaches, we are honored at SkyTrain and humbled to have the Indigenous art now on one of our trains, the first time that this has happened. And it's a very small part of what we can do on the path to reconciliation, and along with many other things that we continue to do, the difficult work of grappling with our legacy and making sure we build a better future for Indigenous peoples and all our communities. Next slide, please. I'll provide to the board an update on our 3 consistent priorities, which are delivering excellent service every single day, achieving future readiness to our ambitious expansion program, and doing it all by maintaining and making sure that our team is healthy, motivated, and fulfilled as we do our important work. Next slide, please. We measure our progress with a variety of metrics and key performance indicators. By and large, we are doing very well in meeting expectations and the targets set for us. We're maintaining excellent customer satisfaction scores. Our ridership keeps on increasing every quarter and year over year. Excellent service delivery scores as well. In the past quarter, we've zeroed in on on-time performance. We would like that number, as you see it here, 93.6, to be a bit higher. So we took some deep dives into what is causing some of our on-time performance issues. These include equipment, aging equipment, some infrastructure issues, some disruptions caused on the line. And also the pinch point we currently have between Braid and Lougheed due to the single tracking we have going on there. That's causing a bit of a pinch point for our operations. So we took a holistic approach, implemented some countermeasures, and happy to report that in the last 3 weeks, we're seeing an improvement in our on-time performance results, and those should be reflected in the Q3 numbers. Next slide, please. Some of the important state of good repair work that customers are seeing on the system include some important structural and surface recoating to make sure that our stations remain in a state of good repair. One very visible one for our customers today is at 22nd Street, where we have an ongoing project, quite difficult logistically to do the work of making sure the structural components and the steel components are renewed. You see the before and after pictures there. All this work is happening while maintaining service through the station and also accommodating other capital projects at the same location. So really important work, which we're completing and doing so with minimal impacts to our customers. Next slide, please. Equipment also needs renewal. Happy to report that we've taken possession of some modern guideway inspection railborne equipment, some new speeders which allow our crews to inspect and repair the line while they do their important work, mainly non-revenue. This is overnight when the rest of us sleep. Our crews are busy at work on the line, ensuring state of good repair. So our equipment was aging. We took possession of some new railborne equipment speeders, which then allowed us to donate an old piece of machinery to BCIT for training and educational purposes. And this was part of our outreach to technical schools, which will then allow us to have that pipeline of talent coming through to BC RTC. So we're strengthening those relationships, and this was one small gesture we were able to do with BCIT. Next slide, please. More work, state of good repair work that is visible to our customers and disruptive. Very much appreciate the patience of our customers. This is a fairly significant escalator replacement project at Commercial Broadway Station. We've had to put a lot of signage and wayfinding to help our customers navigate as we do the important work of replacing 2 20-year-old plus escalators. We finished a couple of them through the summer, and we're now starting 2 new ones. And this does require some additional navigation through the station. We're hoping to finish the work as quickly as possible, obviously with safety as a main consideration, and we thank our customers for their patience as we do this work. Next slide, please. Moving on to some campaigns. If you've been riding the system, you've been, I hope, heeding the announcements encouraging etiquette, improved etiquette on the system. Things like removing backpacks to create more space for other customers and making sure that our priority seats are available for people who need them the most. We're also advising our customers whenever possible, please stand back from the doors, allow disembarking customers to leave the trains. That creates the room for people to board our trains. So that etiquette marketing campaign is underway now. Another one we are focusing on is cleaning. You may recall we started a pilot where we made it very easy for our customers to report cleaning needed at stations, and we're now expanding that program to a few more stations. Happy with the response so far, and it's a priority of ours to make sure that our stations remain as clean as we can keep them. Next slide, please. Moving on to our ambitious expansion program. I like this slide. It's like 5 years on a single slide. This is what our future looks like. So clockwise from top left, in 2025, we'll be receiving or launching into service 1 new Mark V train every month. That's the plan. Very exciting chapter in our future. In 2026, our new control center, what we call OCC2, will be opening. This will enable us to run the new extensions on our lines. Bottom right, in 2027, Broadway subway project opens, extending the Millennium Line from VCC Clark to Arbutus. Bottom left, in 2028, 2029, our new maintenance yard, what we call OMC4, will be opening in Coquitlam. We hope to have some parts of that project functional in 2028, and then the full project coming online in 2029. And finally, you see the Surrey Langley SkyTrain. We now have the new date announced as 2029, and we'll be running service from King George Station all the way to Langley City, a 16-kilometer, 8-station extension of the Expo line. As we are always reminding ourselves, as you see in the text in the middle there, all of this will be happening in the next 1,800 days. It's not a lot of time to achieve a brand new vision and a brand new future for SkyTrain. So with that, next slide, please. We are beginning to see parts of this future taking shape. Very excited through this past summer to open our new guideway shop, the first significant visible piece of our expansion program. Our guideway crews were working out of a very small, cramped shed. Since the 1980s, we've now provided them with a state-of-the-art, modern, larger, more ergonomic facility. They moved in the July-August time period, and happy to report the crews are doing very well in their new home. Quite pleased with the additional space, additional facilities, and the much better safety and ergonomic features of this new building. Next slide, please. And more to come at OMC1. We have the new extended vehicle cleaning facility. We needed to extend this, these bays to allow us to clean the new Mark V trains at OMC1. So that extension is taking shape, and we expect to have it fully functional in October. And opening the new guideway shop in the bottom right corner here allowed us to demolish that old shed, which now gives us space to build a new vehicle maintenance shop, which is essential for our expanded fleet and our ability to maintain our trains. We expect the new VMS to be in service next year in 2025. Next slide, please. We now have 2 Mark V trains in our yard undergoing active testing. Train 1 is now running on non-revenue on the system as we continue its testing. Train 2 happens to have the number 604 to start with, so we're calling it the 604 train, celebrating Vancouver. So the 604 train is now in our yard and beginning that testing process. We expect to take possession of Train 3 in October as well. Next slide, please. Our new OCC is taking shape. If you drive past that building in the Edmonds area, you'll see the exterior is looking near ready now with the glazing up. The work is now focusing on the systems components. The first control console has been delivered, and now the work is on the interior fit out of that building, which will become the new hub for train control in the region. Next slide, please. And Surrey Langley SkyTrain, as I mentioned, we now have the schedule of 2029. Our teams are very busy on design reviews, working with, of course, TransLink and TI Corp through the design and early construction phases. We are heavily involved in helping and providing support and technical expertise for that project. Next slide. I just have a couple of ending slides on our people, our absolutely most important asset. Very proud of our team for stepping up to be more welcoming and making sure our system is accessible as it can be. Our staff, our STAs, are participating in the pilot program to communicate with our customers in languages other than English. So you see the pins being worn there by our STAs. 21 different STAs are participating and representing 18 different languages, now welcoming our customers and just giving people a bit more comfort. Our system can be difficult to navigate, and so we are there to help. and we'd like to be able to help in a language of choice for our customers. And our last slide today, as we grow, as you saw this ambitious growth program, we will be growing and we need excellent people to join our team. So we're busy with outreach to making sure we're drawing on traditionally underrepresented groups to come and join our team. So you see there the logos and the various agencies we're actively engaged with to try to attract folks from the technical schools with a focus on women joining our team, Indigenous people joining our team, and folks who traditionally have not been applying and joining BCRTC. We want to reach them. We want to tell them we're a welcoming place and a growing place and to consider a career at BCRTC. So a lot going on in this space. It is critical for our growth. And with that, Chair, that's the end of my slides. I'm really happy to take any questions from the board.
Sani, thank you very much for that report. I particularly appreciated your slide on the expansion roadmap with 1,800 days. So I assume at every meeting, you're going to give us a countdown on the number of days that we have kind of coming up. But it just kind of gives you a sense of the scope and the depth of breadth of things that you're having to manage. So I know you and your team have a lot on the go.
Thank you.
Any questions for Sani in regards to his presentation? It was quite an in-depth report, and I know we all received it in writing. So, seeing none, we'll move on, and I'm going to invite Mike McDaniel, the President and General Manager of Coast Mountain Bus Company, to give us a report on the bus service. So, Mike.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, everyone. Happy to be here on behalf of Coast Mountain Bus Company to provide the report to you today. So let's just jump to the next slide. We'll take a look at the agenda. So a bit jam-packed report today on a variety of different things that I'm going to cover that you see on your screen right now. So let's just jump into it. Next slide, please. So first off, a general bus service update. Looking back at Q2 of this past year, we provided 99% of the scheduled service. And now with, as you see, the autumn scene on the slide, we're thinking about the fall. And of course, fall service changes were implemented back on September 2nd with everyone heading back to school and their regular fall schedule. Thanks to the 2024 investment plan, we were able to make some modest increases to 47 routes across our system. These increases aim to address overcrowding, improve how people move around the region, and we were also pleased to extend Route 609 to serve Ladner Exchange, providing more efficient connections to Richmond and Surrey, as well as increased service frequency for customers traveling to and from the Tsawwassen First Nation. This service change demonstrates the enterprise's ongoing commitment to reconciliation and delivering transit service that provides more equitable access to on-reserve communities. As we do at this time of year as well, we reallocated some bus service to improve routes to post-secondary schools, and of course, rolling back seasonal summer destination trips. Next slide, please. So we're already into preparation for winter, believe it or not, and our operations teams are running pre-winter awareness programs at the depots, covering topics like best practices during snow events to help mitigate stuck buses, communications options, personal preparedness. Our maintenance teams in the back office are busy with their pre-winter tasks as well, ensuring our large fleet of buses have the tire treads. Tread depths to secure for a secured ride on our roads, especially when the rain and the snow arrives. Now, as the board and public knows, we've been testing a new type of tire from our supplier Michelin on about 1/3 of our fleet, so just over 500 buses. This is the Grip D tire that has the same winter rating as our current tire, the 3 Peak Mountain Snowflake, but it does have a different tread pattern. So our teams have recently completed almost 1 year of testing, measuring performance in wet, dry, and snow conditions, as well as their durability and impact on fuel economy. We have all that data now, and we're working through analysis of that to inform our decisions for this winter that's coming very soon. So stay tuned for that. Next slide, please. So just to continue on the topic of safety, you may recall that CNBC has been installing operator protection barriers across our conventional fleet, actually dating back to kind of late 2017. And at that time, we made the decision that all new buses had a factory installed barrier on them. Retrofitting installations occurred, though, in a measured number across a few years, and then accelerated quite a bit during the pandemic for obvious reasons. Now, earlier this year, we completed the removal of all the temporary pandemic soft plastic barriers on our conventional fleet and installed hard plastic permanent barriers across the entire fleet. Now, we know that even one assault is too many, and that's why I'm pleased to see very strong data showing over the past period where the barriers were installed, and there's a substantial reduction in physical assaults on transit operators. So let's take a look at the next slide and some data. So here you see a chart that illustrates the correlation between a decline in physical operator assaults when the operator is seated in the driver compartment and the percentage of fleet with barriers. You'll see that the red bars reflect the number of operator physical assaults per year from 2016 to 2017 prior to the barrier installation and beyond. And the green line is the percentage of our fleet with barriers installed. The data is obviously quite clear as barriers were installed, assaults lowered. Looking at the data, physical assaults dropped actually from an average of about 42 per year in the 2016 to 2018 period to 9 around 2022 and 10 in 2023. So this data represents anywhere from a 71 to 76% drop in physical assaults when the operator is seated in the driver compartment. Simply said, the barriers are working. They're working to keep our operators safe, and we are also continuing other efforts as well to eliminate all assaults. This includes working groups with our operators and our training teams, as well as with transit security and transit police. We know our work is not done here, but we are celebrating successes along the way, and this is definitely one of them. Next slide, please. So just moving from safety on the buses to the buses themselves, you see the image on the screen here, which has 2 of our new battery electric buses that we've welcomed in August. These both are the Nova LFSE Plus buses, and they join the lead bus that came last year in February. This is part of an order of 15 that are going to Hamilton Transit Center, and the remaining 12 are expected to arrive before the end of this year. Now, this LFSE Plus bus is kind of the next generation bus. We've had some prior to it, and this is the next generation. They've improved battery capacity quite a bit, about 376 kilowatt hours on these buses, which is expected to have a range well over 300 kilometers per full charge. Each bus is expected to reduce 100 tons of greenhouse gas emissions, and save about $40,000 in fuel actually per year compared to a conventional diesel bus. Other steps in our zero emission fleet transition plan, the electrification and expansion projects at Port Coquitlam Transit Center, of course, the construction of Marpole Transit Center, and our order of 57 battery electric buses and supporting charging infrastructure that is also going to Port Coquitlam Transit Center. So lots on the go in this space. Next slide, please. So this is kind of moving to another electric part of our fleet. So this is actually talking about our diesel electric hybrid buses. These hybrid buses are another key element to our zero emission fleet transition plan. We have about 160 of them in our fleet. And each hybrid bus has a traction motor, which is an electric motor used for the propulsion of this type of bus. These motors are commonly replaced as part of our midlife maintenance. And to find savings and use internal talent, a number of our maintenance teams put their heads together to develop an in-house rebuild procedure for these motors instead of buying new. These rebuilds are taking place at our fleet overhaul garage and rely on our mechanics, our electronic technicians, and our service persons to do the job. Now, we're estimating right now about a $60,000 savings per motor. And for the year of 2025, we expect to replace about 27 motors. So that's about a $1.6 million savings in total just for 2025. Another great example of just finding savings where we can, and kudos to the team that thought this up. Next slide, please. So turning to another part of our CMBC team that is focused on delivering the best to our customers. Now, according to the Canadian Medical Association Journal, about 1 to 2% of the population in Canada is on the autism spectrum. That amounts to about 5,000 riders a day on our buses that might need a little extra assistance or kindness in their trip. And that's why we're enhancing our training around neurodiversity and partnering with the Pacific Autism Family Network. As a first step, working together to produce a training video for our 4,000 plus transit operators. The goal is to build awareness and provide practical tips for interacting with members of the autism and intellectual disability community. To ensure the video is applicable to our people and our work, CMBC will provide real-world scenarios and information on how operators are trained. Now, along with the expertise from Pacific Autism Family Network, a few of our employees will also act as subject matter experts. These are employees who step forward, they have children on the spectrum, and they want to help out. And they'll be part of the video as well. You see one of them here, Paul Biesla, one of our operator training instructors, and he will be featured in the video. The video will be used in many formats. We've talked many times about our new operator training program, and we have many new hires over this next year. In our in-person refresher training, on our online e-learning programs, and of course at our depots as well. Over time, we envision that the training will be extended to our transit security officers, our transit supervisors, and anybody that is interacting directly with the public. This video will enhance many tools we already have available, but it will ensure that employees are equipped to work with all members of our community that we serve. And we're so pleased to have a great partner with the Pacific Autism Family Network. Next slide, please. And so just before summer is fully gone and our memories of it are gone as well, I just wanted to highlight a couple of things of the past summer. Not only do we bring employees together to celebrate doing barbecues or cultural days, retirements, or service milestone recognitions, but also for our first Soccer and Family Fest. Now, for context, our annual Soccer Fest is actually a very long-standing tradition that our operations team and our union Unifor really steps up and basically runs a very competitive soccer championship each summer. For the first time, CNBC joined in and invited one of our other unions, Move Up, who got involved and brought another element to the event, which is a family fest, family-friendly games and other activities. A number of our exempt employees volunteered their time. It was great to walk around and see our employees and families interacting. Incredible to see everybody come together. And of course, again, how fun the soccer was to see. So next slide, please. And just one more nod to summer, just a last shot here of our Vancouver Transit Center taken back in the summer by one of our transit operators. And I will end with that and happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Mike, thank you very much for that report. I'm really waiting to hear the results of the Grip D tires. We've been hearing about this now for almost a year or more, and so I'm intrigued to see how the results turn out of the report. And I'm really pleased to see how resourceful you've been around the refurbishing of the engines and the parts for the motors. So I think that was it's really encouraging. It's another way for us to really save money and put more into the service that we're delivering.
For sure it is. Our teams are very creative, and they've, when we talked about the barriers, the in-house design of the barriers allowed us actually to be able to implement the rest of them on the entire fleet. And so that was an in-house idea. The traction motors that I highlighted today, again, an employee idea. So our teams are very creative and very talented, and it's great to share just another success story.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. So I see that Director Sandhu has a question for you. So Harpinder.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So Mike, yeah, great report. One question I have regarding it is, you did outline the decline in physical assaults to drivers due to the barriers. Do we have records or any kind of reporting on verbal assaults or threats to drivers, and how is that handled?
Yeah, we do. Thank you for the question. And we do. This was to highlight a very specific part of this, which was, of course, physical assaults while the driver was in the driving compartment, because that is That is kind of our, I guess, most extreme and most high risk area. But we do track total assaults as well, all different types, and we compare that data across a number of comparative organizations. The CUDA being our kind of Canadian association that we look through, and we define our assaults in that same way. We do track that. What I can tell you is that with the implementation of the barriers, all assaults have actually declined. Now so it's a very similar to the graph that I showed. Little bit different because some of them are not influenced necessarily by a barrier, but what you can actually see is that when the operator is behind the barrier in the driver's seat, all types of assaults have decreased over time. It's not just about the barriers. Of course, I noted that we did a lot of training with our staff over a number of years. We continue to do refresher training. And of course, we do work very closely with both transit security and transit police for presence on the bus. Even the presence, that Kevin referenced earlier in regards to fare enforcement. It's more visibility in the system for security staff, and that is helping out our operators and actually all frontline staff. We do track that data. I can provide a little bit more information at a future meeting for you, but thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harpinder. And Director Dhaliwal. Harsh.
Thanks, Lorraine. Mike, thank you for the great update, and thank you for the update on the winter tires, because you knew I would ask about that. I'm just wondering about the motors. What a great initiative, first of all. Can you say if the life of the rebuilt motors, how does that compare to a brand new motor?
Yeah, so I mean, this is again starting out new. As many of you know, the way that we do our fleet, maybe just some context to answer the question. The way we do our fleet is our fleet lasts about 17 plus years, depending on the bus type. So quite a bit longer than some. And for example, in the US, they are on a 12-year cycle. It's part of their funding model, and that's how it goes. Years ago, we made the decision to have kind of a mid-year life rebuild of our buses to be able to extend them to 17 plus years. So that has kind of changed our business model internally here. It's lowered our capital cost, albeit it's probably increased our operating costs a little bit. But with that, what we have to do is we have to get the bus and its components, including its traction motor, to that 17, 18-year window. And so around that 9 to 10 year mark is when we do these rebuilds, not just on the traction motors, but on all parts of our buses. And so really our goal here is not necessarily to have it last as long as a new purchase, but to actually get us to our target year. And right now we think that that's exactly what's going to happen. And when we retire the bus, it'll be still in good, reasonable working order, albeit dropping off in terms of repairs and maintenance. So that's kind of how we've targeted this particular initiative.
Thank you, Mike. That's brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, I don't see any further questions, Mike. So thank you very much for your report. I appreciate the comprehensiveness of it, as all the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 6 on our agenda is a report from our Chief Officer, Suzanne Muir. So Suzanne, the floor is yours.
Yeah, good morning, Chair and everyone. I'm very pleased to provide updates on the activities of Metro Vancouver Transit Police and focused on 3 key areas: people, safety, and community. With the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation approaching, just really want to take a moment to recognize reconciliation is an ongoing process incorporated into every day of the year for transit police. 2 initiatives we will be involved is raising the survivors flag as a symbol of our commitment to reconciliation and an ongoing act of remembering and honoring lives lost and impacted by the residential school system. And secondly, on September 30th, we'll be attending local activities and gatherings organized to commemorate the history and legacy of the residential schools. Next slide, please. Between January and June 2024, transit police officers made 556 arrests for outstanding criminal warrants which included RCMP, municipal police, and transit police issued warrants from BC and elsewhere. The number of warrant arrests was 15% higher than the same period of 2023. Arrests on new charges rose by 18% from 226 to 266, and the number of breach files increased by 4% from 217 to 225. Warrant arrests and breaches occur as a result of the on-view work of police officers and community safety officers, calls for service. It can be confirming a person's identity after criminal arrest or during enforcement of a provincial statute offense, such as pushing through fare gates. The substantial increase in provincial violation tickets is mostly attributed in part to the deployment of the new community safety officers, whose duties also include enforcement of the Greater Vancouver Transit Conduct and Safety Regulation. Despite huge increases in ridership over the past 2 years, the volume of reported crimes to transit police has actually continued to decrease. This has resulted in large decreases in the rate of reported crime, which really reinforces that the transit system is safe. Next slide, please. In June, transit police responded to complaints received from the public on social media and other channels and bus operators regarding the misuse of bus lanes by enacting a targeted enforcement campaign with education and public communications playing a strong role. The Transit Police Target Mobile Enforcement Team, TMET, launched a project that focused on vehicles that were improperly using bus lanes to bypass traffic congestion, putting both buses and transit riders at risk of collision. The project ran for 4 non-consecutive weekdays in Delta, Pitt Meadows, Richmond, Surrey, and Vancouver. As outlined, the project resulted in a total of 334 violation tickets being issued, and this included 268 violation tickets for bus lane misuse and another 66 violation tickets for secondary offenses such as distracted driving, driving without a license, and speeding. Bus lane enforcement measures continue to be one of TMET's priorities. Next slide, please. In Q1, Q2 2024, the number of Transit Police Section 28 Mental Health Act apprehensions remain consistent when compared. These are individuals who are apprehended under Section 28 of the Mental Health Act and are transported into the care of a physician. During this period, our mental health liaison officer made 17 referrals to health partners for clients experiencing ongoing mental health issues. And that's really to ensure that they have established a mental health team in place and supports with local health providers are initiated. Next slide, please. As a result of information initially brought forward at the Transit Police Chiefs Community Council, and that's where we bring together community members that act in an advisory capacity to transit police, information around Metrotown activity at the station was received. And since April, Transit Police has conducted 2 targeted projects in and around Metrotown SkyTrain station, which is the second busiest station based on passenger volume. Both projects received funding from the Provincial Repeat Violent Offenders Intervention Initiative, Special Investigation and Targeted Enforcement Program. And that's a program to target repeat violent offenders and aims to provide safer communities. During the first 3-day project in April, officers made 26 arrests for reasons from outstanding warrants and weapons possession to theft and trafficking in a controlled substance. And during the second 4-day project in July, 56 individuals were arrested for similar reasons, weapons, possession, drugs, and 21 outstanding warrants. And so over the course of the 2 projects, various weapons were seized, including bear spray, brass knuckles, a replica firearm, and 34 knives. We continue to work closely with our partners at Metrotown, as well as the Burnaby RCMP, on ensuring high visibility presence in the area to deter criminal activity. And this is just really an excellent example of working in collaboration with community to address crime, disorder, and community safety issues. Next slide, please. In 2023, there were new BC provincial policing standard requirements were introduced on unbiased and equitable policing. These included a requirement that each police service conduct a survey of citizen satisfaction and attributes towards police service at least once every 3 years, consistent with certain standardized metrics. We're working with TransLink Customer Research and Insights, and Transit Police has now selected a proponent firm to conduct a survey of transit riders that meets these standards. Of note, the online panel survey will be offered in multiple languages, and the survey scope was designed to ensure minimum participation levels by certain communities, such as Indigenous peoples. The survey is scheduled to be conducted this fall, with the results provided to Transit Police by year end. Next slide, please. The BC Association of Chiefs of Police and the BC Law Enforcement Diversity Network are working to promote safety for individuals living with autism and those who are neurodiverse. The Neurodiverse DECO program aims to improve interactions between police officers and neurodiverse autistic individuals by using decals to signal the presence of such individuals. When displayed on houses or vehicles, decals prompt police to adapt their approach, expectations, and communication styles to accommodate the unique needs and sensitivities of neurodiverse autistic individuals. Promote safety and reassurance that individuals are likely to receive appropriate and empathetic responses from first responders. Similar to Coast Mountain Bus Company, we have partnered with the Pacific Autism Family Network, and all our frontline officers have received training in this important area. Transit Police has been helping to promote the DECO program through attendance at events and distribution of decals to transit riders. One such pop-up event was held at Waterfront Station on July 24th, and decals have been additionally been distributed at community events throughout the summer months. Next slide, please. In addition to supporting the Neurodiverse DECO program, our Waterfront Community Policing Center, which was established in 2021 and is located in the Waterfront Station with over 90 volunteers, has also supported the Garage 529 bike registration campaign, and that's bike registration to reduce theft and help recovery of bicycles. They continue to deploy each week into downtown Vancouver core and into the North Shore. So far in 2024, just some really impressive results. They've conducted over 1,500 hours of patrols, supported operations with an additional 220 hours, generated 8 police files, 2 naloxone important saves of lives potentially, and interacted with 100 individuals in need of assistance, handing out gloves, tubes, socks, water, depending on the season. They are first and foremost at so many events for us, and we'll look forward to recognizing these volunteers at our CPC Appreciation Dinner and Awards this evening. Next slide, please. In June 2024, the Police Board held their public meeting at Simon Fraser University's Surrey campus, located beside Surrey Central Station. A dozen representatives from local community partners attended the meeting and engaged in constructive dialogue with the Police Board and executive team. Holding Police Board meetings out in community allows the Police Board and Transit Police to hear directly from many diverse groups that rely on bus, SkyTrain, C-Bus, and West Coast Express, and answer questions related to transit system safety and security. As a result of these discussions arising at the meeting, the neighborhood police officer for Surrey conducted a number of follow-up meetings with participants. This included in part a walkthrough of a local college facility and provision of a transit safety seminar, holding a pop-up education event at Gateway Tower, recommendations for potential safe walk program, meetings with counselors from Surrey, and also with local business improvement associations. And additional community meetings will be planned as a regular part of the Police Board's annual meeting cycle as we move forward. Next slide, please. And this concludes my Chief Officer update, and I welcome any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Chief Muir. I just want to say time and time again, we've heard from the public that they feel much safer having security and police on our system. So really appreciate the work that you do and that thorough report. Are there any questions for the chief in regards to information? The other thing I just wanted to add, Suzanne, is how appreciative I am of the work that you're doing collaboratively with other jurisdictions. You know, you're not kind of, the system is integrated through many municipalities, and so it's important that we work with all the different jurisdictions, and I think you've very successfully been able to implement that, and I just really want to acknowledge that.
Thank you for those comments, Chair.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So thank you very much. So that concludes our reports from the different groups. Now we're going to move to the 4 committees that the board has. So there's 4 committees, and each of the chairs are going to make a report for those who are watching and don't understand. So last week, all of our committees met for several hours each. And so I'm going to call upon Alan Seckel as the chair of the Finance and Audit Committee to make his report first. Thank you, Alan.
Thanks, Lorraine. The Finance and Audit Committee met on September 16th, and I can be relatively brief because most of the things we cover you all have already heard about during the reports of the CEO from TransLink and the presidents and chief. So I won't belabor or cover them again. We did review and recommend to the board changes to the corporate safety and health policy, and those will be considered later in the meeting. You've heard a lot about safety this morning from the various reports, and we receive a regular safety update at the committee. It's a report on the safety history of the enterprise, and we consider significant incidents since the last report. This meeting, we also spent extra time reviewing violence in the workplace. While violence in the workplace is increasing generally across society, including other transit systems, and I acknowledge the horrific violence on the Los Angeles system this morning. But for TransLink, violence against bus operators has decreased, as you saw in the presentation from Mr. McDaniel. I would also credit CNBC for the safety barrier process, which has installations which have reduced assaults on operators. On train operations, incidents have returned to pre-pandemic levels, but overall numbers are not high. That said, every assault is something TransLink wants to prevent, as everyone on transit, whether passenger or team member, should always feel safe and be safe on the transit system. We also received reports on the status of the rail expansion program, and in particular, the Broadway, Subway, and Surrey Langley SkyTrain extension projects, subjects that have already been canvassed in those other reports. We also heard from our head of the real estate division about the Arbutus project, which Mr. Quinn referred to, and also the potential for other projects in the future. And we received our regular reports that enabled our oversight roles on corporate risks, litigation, and internal audit. Lorraine, that's the brief report.
Thank you very much, Alan. Are there any questions for Alan in regards to his report? All right, seeing none, we're going to then ask Andrea Reimer to provide a report on Planning, Communities, and Communication Committee that also met last week. Andrea.
Thank you, Chairperson. Well, similar to Alan's report, many of mine were covered in other places on the agenda, but I will give a brief summary of what those were so people have a line of sight into the pipeline of how these things get discussed. First was Metro 2025, the statutory requirement of TransLink to comment on regional growth strategy amendments proposed at Metro Vancouver. And there was one in Surrey that people can see on the agenda and the consent agenda. We didn't discuss it today, but it was passed by the board through the consent agenda. We had our Q3 Government Relations and Public Affairs briefing, which included many of the things that you heard from the various heads of the different subsidiaries today. But a few that I'll note that weren't discussed, we talked about the Bus Rapid Transit Outreach Program and all the activities that have been happening in regards to that. We talked about the Travel Training Program, which is a quite innovative program in this region around supporting newcomers to access transit and understand the, I was going to say peculiarities, but I think every system is peculiar when you're new to it. So just to help them have a better sense of how to navigate it. And then we talked at length about the different community engagement, outreach, and partnerships. I might note Car Free Day because I don't have a specific memory of anyone else noting that today, but there was quite a big presence for TransLink at the various Car Free Days that were held around the region. And it's been good to see the expansion of that, as well as just all the people out enjoying it every year. We also had our Indigenous Relations Q3 update. We have a reconciliation report for 2023, which those that are interested in can see on the TransLink website, and there is a new website section for that. Also to note that staff were present at Squamish Amalgamation Day, talking with community members of the Squamish Nation, as well as did a tour of Tsawwassen with the Tsawwassen First Nation Chief, Laura Cassidy, and other members of the council. We had a communications and marketing Q3 update. I think all of that has pretty much been covered here. We did talk at some length about the fair enforcement program and concerns that the board had raised, which CEO Kevin Quinn already spoke to ensure that those who just can't afford to access transit have avenues that aren't subject to the enforcement program. We did talk also about service changes, just got an update on the summer and fall service changes. We had a Q3 report on customer experience. I think that's mostly been spoke to here by other folks. I might just note the public art, that there's a big new public art precinct that will be open when Capstan is open, that the public will be able to see. Board members did go on a tour of some public art on the system since our last meeting, and we're able to see that and some other things. Also to note, a celebration of Phil Wizard, the gold medal winning breaker, who's been featured over the years in our Transit in Motion program, as well as the growth of the Transit Friendly Employee Program. And then the last thing we talked about was the board correspondence. Every quarter we get an update on the correspondence and the actions that staff have taken to reply to it. And it allows us a line of sight into any trends that are happening with customer complaints or positive things that the customers are saying and comments. That is my report.
Thank you very much, Director Reimer. Any questions for Andrea in regards to her report? Seeing none, I'm going to move to Jennifer Chan and ask her to provide a report on the HR and Governance Committee. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Lorraine. The Human Resources and Governance Committee met on September 17th and received reports and provided feedback to staff on a number of items, including a report regarding TransLink's ongoing efforts to ensure that our workplaces and our services are equitable, inclusive, and reflective of the diverse communities we serve. There's too many efforts to list in this summary, but a few highlights we heard include an accessibility review of TransLink's website, which demonstrated strong compliance with accessibility standards and resulted in further improvements to make our websites more accessible for everyone. We celebrated the organization's work in building community and allyship through events leading up to the Pride Parade and TransLink's participation in the Vancouver Pride Parade itself. Leading up to Pride Week and the Pride Parade. We also heard about BCRTC's success in supporting women maintenance staff with more options for personal protective equipment that is more comfortable for use by women. And so it was great to recognize these successes, but also the additional work and progress still to be done. Another report we received was a progress report regarding the new Human Resources Digital Transformation Program, which is work being commenced to ensure TransLink's human resources management computer system continues to serve the needs of the enterprise. And we received the People and Culture Quarterly Report, which provided an overview of the People and Culture Department's work in relation to the human resources needs of the organization, supporting the well-being of staff and providing opportunities for learning and career development for staff. As a quick highlight from that report, we were delighted to hear about the talent acquisition team's tremendous work in recruiting transit operators and in filling other key roles in the organization. And we wish to welcome all new employees and wish them every success as they join the TransLink enterprise. Thank you, Lorraine.
Thank you very much, Director Chan. Any questions for Jen in regards to her report? Seeing none, then I'm going to move to Director Dhaliwal. Harj, can you give us our IT committee report, please?
Sure. Thank you, Lorraine. It's my pleasure to provide a summary of our meeting that was held on September the 18th. The IT committee received reports from management on a number of technology program topics and received updates on key significant IT projects and investments. One of these is the HR digital transformation that is done in conjunction, with the HR department, and will transform the organization's approach to HR management. This is still in the early stages, in the planning stages, but it's quite a large transformation on both the IT side and the HR side. So, looking forward to getting future updates on that. An update on the regular IT portfolio was provided to the committee as well. The projects generally are running on time and on budget, and there is a great deal of work going on behind the scenes to support all of the operating companies and, of course, the day-to-day at TransLink as well. For the first time, the committee received a report from BCRTC in relation to their IT programs, specifically, and while there are some areas around the IT area specifically. And while there are some areas identified for focus, generally the report was very positive as the areas prepare for systems to test, ensure backups are working as intended. So they're going to be doing some backup testing as well and running the trains from those exercises. And as BCRTC prepares for expansion for the Broadway and the Surrey Langley lines. So we want to make sure that their IT infrastructure is ready to able to handle all of that. And that is the update. Thank you, Lorraine.
Thank you very much, Harj. Any questions for Harj in regards to his report? Seeing none, then we're going to move on to item number 11 on our agenda, which is the annual update on the TransLink corporate safety and health policy. I'm going to ask Dorit Mason to take the lead on this, and we have a decision to make. So there's a resolution that's included in the package. So Dorit.
Thank you, Chair Cunningham. Good morning, all, and thank you for the opportunity to come before you today with the recommended annual updates to the TransLink corporate safety and health policy. As you've heard many times this morning, safety is underlying everything that we do. TransLink is committed to safety, and it's reflected in one of our top values of safety, as well as our enterprise safety commitment. Our goals are always to eliminate injuries to customers and employees, empower our employees and hold everyone accountable to work safely, and then influence others to improve safety throughout the region. Each operating company has their own safety policy, and it is best practice to update these on an annual basis. What I'm bringing forward to you today is the TransLink corporate safety policy, and for your consideration, some updates. So safety of employees is actually legislated under the BC Workers' Compensation Act and the Occupational Health and Safety Regulation. And all employers as well as employees have a legal obligation to work safely and to continue to have a safe workplace. It is not only physical safety, but it is also psychological safety that we need to be aware of. And so the updates for the policy this year is to clarify that the safety and health policy for TransLink Corporate includes not only physical safety, but also psychological health, psychological safety. And so those are the changes that are recommended within the policy for consideration this year. And maybe with that, Chair Cunningham, I will pass it back to you.
Thank you very much, Dorit. Are there any questions before I call for the resolution, for approval of the resolution? All right, so seeing none, the resolution reads that we approve the amendments to the corporate safety and health policy as attached in attachment 2 of the report dated August 20th and the annual update on the TransLink corporate safety and health policy. So can I have a mover and a seconder for that? Thank you very much. And all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, so that carries. So thank you for that. And the next item on our agenda is number 12, which is our consent agenda. And this will be the last item that we address before we conclude our meeting. So there's nobody requested that anything be removed from the consent agenda. So can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented? Thank you, Alan. And a seconder. Thank you, Harj. All in favor of approving the consent agenda? Any opposed? Okay, that carries. So thank you all very much for your participation, for the guest speakers that we had at the beginning of the meeting. Appreciate your caring enough about TransLink to come on and provide us with feedback. And this comes to the end of our meeting. So a motion to adjourn our meeting. And seconder, and all in favor? Thank you all very much. So the